Kim. Welcome to She Achieved podcast. I am so excited to share your story with our listeners. I think you have a pretty amazing story to tell of how you came to be, and we are in your beautiful art studio this morning. And so thank you for your time and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you for calling and chatting and saying, encouraging me to do it, because sometimes I'm not the most, I like to stay behind the scenes. It's hard to do that when you own a business, though, because your face is the business. So
that's right. And your name is on the door. Right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
And so, but you have been so successful, and as much as you like to be in the background, you have done really amazing things. And so I think the power and your work really shines through. So I am really excited to really showcase how you got to where you are today, and all of the amazing things, and being featured on HGTV on a national show. But let's not start there. Let's start at the beginning. Let's tell our listeners a little bit about who Kim is, like where you grew up, where you came from, and how you ended up in Tupelo and doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I am one of 4 children, and my dad was with a Lane company, and so originally from Virginia, and lived in Pennsylvania for a few years, and then when I was 10, Lane moved my dad here to work with Action Industries, which I don't know if a whole lot of people know that name anymore, but anyway, they know the Lane company. Anyhow, we moved here when I was 10, and finished high school here, and went on to Mississippi State. And so when I left, I said, I'm not coming back to Tupelo, and I want to go and fly, and because we lived in other places, I was interested in other places beyond Tupelo. And so, because when we first moved to Mississippi, all we knew was like Huckleberry Finn. We're like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And we were quite surprised. The community really welcomed us, and Tupelo is just a special, special place that people that have not been here just don't understand and don't get. But and that's okay, because we're trying to shout it from the rooftops some days. But anyway, so went to Mississippi State and finished a degree in marketing, and took a few electives in the art department. So I always just loved art, but I don't have that vision that artists have. I loved photography, so I just took photography classes, and it was fun and great. I came back to Tupelo, started looking for a job outside of Tupelo, because it was the late 80s and the economy wasn't that great, and so it was kind of hard to, with a business degree, it wasn't that easy to find a job. So came back, started looking for a job, and got a part-time job at Reed's, and I was like, okay, this will be fine. And then he's like, well, Jack was like, why don't you come and work with us upstairs in the office? So I said, okay, I'll work up there for a while. And then I got offered a job to work at the hospital. But in the meantime, I met my future husband, and we started dating, and ended up getting married. And so we stayed here. And we have 2 children, and they're now both married. But I stayed home for about 15 years. I quit my job at the hospital, and in the marketing department. Let me just make that clear. It was not in any medical capacity. So staying home with my kids, which I felt very blessed to do. I did a lot of volunteerism, not trying to toot my horn, but it's just, you feel like if you're at home and you have the opportunity to be with your kids, that you need to balance it with being in the community, because that is the gift that you've been given. This week you should be doing. And that's just always been my thing. It's like, you don't just stay home and get in that little world and never go outside it. So I did a lot of stuff at the church. I was involved with Tupelo Women's Club and Junior Auxiliary of Tupelo, and they were great avenues. The church and those organizations were great avenues for me to learn about working with other women, and also working with men. Even at church, you're working with ministers, and you're working with other, the deacons and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I had a balance of men and women that I kind of worked with. I didn't get paid, but I did a lot of stuff. And finally, when I saw that my children were about to get their driver's license, I said, I'm tired of working and not getting paid. Those 15 years they were forming me to be what I am now. And we all can say that, the past helps you with your future. But all that time, I had always had this desire to own an art gallery, the glorified idea of the art gallery. Because you just look at it from a distance, any other business, and you're like, well, that would be so cool to do that. That'd be so cool. But my husband and I love art, and we had been collecting over the years just, we would get one piece of art a year. That was our thing. Get one nice piece of art a year, small, medium, large, whatever we could afford at the time. And we would do that. And all of a sudden, you got a nice collection. Not saying that everything was $10,000. It wasn't. It was more like $100, $200, But anyway, it was original artwork that we just loved. And so when I gave him the idea that I wanted to go back to work, but I wanted to open an art gallery, he's like, oh, I don't know about that. And he's like, just get a job. And of course, this is 2009, 2008, 2009, when the economy sucked. And they don't want to hire a woman who's not worked for 15 years. So I was like, so he's like, you just go get a job and get insurance. And I was like, that's easy to say, first and foremost. And it's so general. And I love my husband. He's been very supportive. But that was the easy thing. He's like, just get one so you can, get insurance. And I'm like, that blanket statement, it does not sound fulfilling to me. But I did. I made the effort. I said, I wanted to try. But of course, nobody wanted to hire me because technology had changed so much. That was such a big change. So anyway, so I made that effort. I was like, Richard, no one's hiring me. He's like, well, just keep trying. I'm like, no. I said, I really want to do this art gallery. And he was just like, oh. So I started doing research and trying to come up with a plan and that kind of thing. Because I had volunteered at the Gumtree Museum as well, with the festival and different things like that. So, I knew about art and artists and that kind of thing. And so I put my business plan together and went to the bank and got a line of credit, and my husband had to co-sign it, which, was irritating. But I was like, I don't care. This is what I want. And so I opened the gallery, and that was 12 years ago. So,
okay, that is so nifty, and I just want to pick apart the entire thing because I know it wasn't as easy, and I know your husband, Dr. Richard Caron, and he is very analytical, very like in the box, follow the rules. We're going to be, which is not to say it's a bad thing. But
it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's such a good thing. You got to have that.
Yeah.
But first of all, to get him to sign off on it and get him to be committed to it. But I think you did all the work. You mentioned the business plan right off the bat. You mentioned I did research. You put it all together. You had experience like with the Gumtree Museum here that we have in town. And so you were aware of what it took and what it looked like. And you kind of had an idea of how you would make it work, right? Because your passion has to make money, right? And I'm sure from that standpoint, like you want to make sure it makes money, right? That's what we're all in this for. And we're just lucky if we get to do what we love to do.
Right.
I want to go back a little bit to your volunteering time as part of your, you even alluded to it, like that helped you become who you are. A lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to be in a volunteer position, especially if you're a leader of some organization or involved on a more on a bigger scale than just a regular volunteer with organizations, because of the many personalities you have to deal with.
Yes.
And you're doing it for free. And I always say that is more, I have my own experience with dealing with volunteers and it being incorporated into the roles that I have had. And that is such a delicate balance of, you really get to experience and learn like what makes people tick, right? So is there anything that stands out in that particular journey of the things that you learned most that have maybe transpired and have helped you on your journey? Like, is there an instance or maybe a situation that, or situations that really stuck out? Because, in a church setting or in a nonprofit setting, that's always, people are very passionate about things.
They are. And everyone brings their own agenda to the table. And not that it's a bad agenda, but it is going to be a little skewed because it's just theirs. And then when you set it beside yours and the next person's, there's going to be a conflict. That's just how it is. And when they're volunteering, they're like, well, this is my free time. And they can sometimes be a little pushy where they know they're not going to get fired. Whereas if they did work, they may not get fired, but they might get a huge reprimand or may end up losing their job. I don't think that's severe, but I think that, it is, sometimes hard to navigate the different personalities, but it also teaches you to just be patient and understanding and have an open mind about, well, I haven't thought about it from that perspective. Oh, okay. Well, I see that. I'll take that, and I want to learn from it. Sometimes you don't want to learn from it, but you're going to have to suck it up and learn from it because it's the world, and take those in and try to understand, and sometimes you also have to kind of go, I don't agree, and I really think that's wrong. That's like, yeah, we're volunteering, but that what you're proposing or what you're suggesting, it's only going to serve you. And and I am just one that I've become more and more unfiltered the older I get. And here, my parents, when they were near the end of their life, I mean, they were just so unfiltered. I was like, oh Lord, hopefully I'm a little better when I'm in my 80s. But you hopefully becoming unfiltered and voicing your thoughts and your opinions, you don't do it, so you need to make sure you don't do it in an offensive way. And you're not doing it to slay someone. You just want to kind of choose your words correctly and try to, remind them what is our, what's our goal here? Is this going to help meet our goal? And I've become real unfiltered.
I love it. Well, you presented that beautifully, because that is something that I don't think a lot of people are very aware of or think about, but and another beautiful thing that I love about you sharing your story is the 15 years of staying at home with your family and the importance of that, and being present for them, and then allowing that experience for you to pour into our community here, but also gaining experiences out of that are really invaluable.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, that's encouraging to women who are maybe in that transitional period, or maybe are teetering with that idea of, do I, because your babies are not going to be small forever, right?
It is so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, and my mother always told me that, but my gosh, it flies by. And even if you don't ever get to stay home with your children, that's okay. And in fact, I really tell a lot of women when they ask me different questions, I'm like, even if you work 5 hours a week, don't give that up. Because, and I did, doing all the volunteerism, I thought that kind of gave me a little bit of like a job or whatever, but it can suck the life out of you. So you have to be really careful about balancing all of that and being pulled and not feeling guilty about staying at home, because you can really have that guilt in there. And people who don't stay home with kids don't understand the guilt. Now, some mothers may not feel guilty at all, but I think for the most part, you feel guilty because you have so many friends or family members that are working so hard, and you're home with your kids, and you kind of feel bad they're not getting that same opportunity. And so anyway, you just kind of have to deal, and you have to just understand it's okay to stay home, and it's okay if you don't. It's all about what's best for you and balancing all that out. But I think those who do work have to, and not be able to stay with their children, they also have to be able to go, you know what, I can't do that today at work. I'm going to have to leave early, and I need to go home with my kids. I need to take them to the dentist or the doctor, or I need to go to a soccer game, whatever it might be. You have to be able to walk away from work too. And I've learned that since I've been back at work. It's easy to be so consumed and just like, okay, I'll call you back in a few minutes, or try to work and text with even my adult children and whatever. It's still a balance, no matter what age and how old your kids are, or how you are, or whatever. You're always going to be dealing with family. So you just have to learn to compartmentalize and hope that you're doing the best you can.
I love that. Thank you, Kim. Shifting gears just a little bit, when you wrote your first business plan for the gallery, is it what the gallery is now? Or tell us a little bit about what your initial vision was and what it is now.
Well, I'll have to say, my vision for the art gallery has remained the same. Always, always. But it's not a typical art gallery. We're not a white box gallery that does an exhibition. once a month or every other month and featuring an artist and, you know, whatever. We have only Mississippi artists. We have a variety of themes and imagery and mediums, and it's just not a regular gallery. We don't add a bunch of gift items either, because some have art and gifts or clothing and art or whatever. It is only art. Everything is original. And we have a little bit of handmade jewelry, but it's not much, you know, because I mean, we're not a clothing store, so I really struggle about having some jewelry, but I think that there are just some beautiful craftsmen, and I just really have like one or two, honestly, because I just like to have a sample. And Kathy Talbot, who's she's like a metalsmith, and she makes beautiful glass enamel jewelry, and she's been with me at the beginning. She had the faith in me. It's those kind of artists that they just encouraged you and guided me and all. But anyway, it's still stayed the same. It's all about, and I tell my employees all the time, it's about the art, the artist, and we're last. Art, artists, our customers, us. You know, we need to have our priorities, you know, and we do whatever we can to protect the integrity of the art. We want to represent it on the website in the best setting, and we just launched a new website in February. This would be my third platform. Well, I was originally with Shopify, left, did a couple different integrations on WordPress, and now back at Shopify. But you know, it's hard. Websites are so hard, but you just have to make it work. It's so integral, and that's one thing I knew when I was putting together the business plan, is I had to have a website. And this is 2010, 2009, and that was really in the beginning of e-commerce, and Shopify was brand new. I was one of the first people. I should have stayed. And they've grown a lot. But, you know, I wanted to have more control and wanted to have more, you know, do more things and all this kind of stuff. And they had a lot of constraints, and now I'm back and I'm loving the constraints because it keeps you kind of in check and not to get too out of control. But having a website that is functional, user-friendly, and you just, you know, I got on someone's website a couple days ago because they were on Instagram, so I went to their website and I wanted to see what their menu was. It was a restaurant, a tiny little place, and they had their welcome page, and then when you would hit menu, they hadn't finished it. And I was like, I'm not motivated to go. Even if it's not updated, at least finish your website that you have. You know, if you're going to have a link to it, finish it. I mean, just finish it. It's part of being the business. And if you can't do those things, to me, it's like, where are you lacking in other areas too? And they may not be. It may be all about the food. And it was a woman-owned business, and I'm like, okay, I'm still going to go, because I was like, it's a woman-owned business. I am going to go. But I was disappointed. I was like, it's just like some little extra steps you could have done. It's okay to ask your husband or ask your teenage kid, help me, because they can do it in 5 minutes. These kids can do it in 5 minutes. Just get them to help you.
It's really a missed opportunity, because I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've been in those situations too, because you never know who's watching, who's checking you out. Mm-hmm. Being on the internet in general, you're accessible 24/7, literally.
Yes,
so you never
everyone.
know. To everyone, everywhere.
I mean, our biggest shoppers are about 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what are they doing? Why don't they just go to bed?
But that's their time.
But that's
right?
their time, and I get it, because I do not get on the internet really to like search my own stuff until about 8 o'clock. So I do get it. Yeah.
And I do really like your website. So I'm glad you brought that up, because if that is one of the key tools that have been, you know, relevant and attributing to your success, I think that's so critical and important. But I do like your website. I'm on there a good bit. And you guys do a lot of nifty little things. You have these boxes that you do, and you have really expanded your line and your offerings. And so even though you don't necessarily, quote unquote, do gifts, those could be gifts.
Oh, yes.
Like, I think they're really
exactly.
neat.
I mean, we have a lot of, and that was the other thing, is that we wanted to have something in here that is accessible to everyone. We have things that are as little as like $25. Now we have things that are $5,000. But I mean, people, you know, still will come in and go, is it okay for me to look? And I'm like, of course. And, you know, artists, yes, they would love for you to buy their art, but they love people seeing their art. They don't want to hide it in their studios. They want people to see it. That is, they create it for people to look at it and eventually, you know, buy it. But for someone coming in, and if they only come in here and just look and never buy, that is fine. We have a gentleman that comes in every Friday, and because he goes to Cafe 212 and has lunch, and comes here every Friday, walks through. He's gotten to be friends with all of us, and he's just like, all right, I'll see you next week. And it's like, great. And he's like, oh my gosh, is this something new? I said, well, no, I moved it. And he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't see it before. And that's the thing, is like when you come back every time, you just can't take in this kind of inventory, because we have this is just a sample, very small sample of what we have. There's a huge inventory, and you just can't see everything at once. So, and that's why what's so nice about going back to, whether it's my website or anyone's website, don't think that when you create your website that, oh, I'll finish that part later. And it's kind of getting back to that, is that, no, you got to finish it now. Just finish it, and you can update it later, but just have something there. If you have a link to it and it's part of the page, you just need to, or delete the template enough so it doesn't look, you know, like or just say menu coming soon.
Something.
Yeah.
I love that tip. So you recently, or this year, you celebrated 12 years here.
Well, it's 13 years, 13. Really. Yeah, I just thought about that way. It's 13 in August, yeah.
Okay, so you're coming up on your 13th year anniversary at this location.
Yeah.
What about your second location? Tell us how that came to be.
Yeah. So, you know, when COVID hit, and it's, you know, that is such a marking spot for so many people, but it's just reality. I mean, it affected everyone. Every single person. And so spring break, you know, I come home, we were gone for spring break, I come home and we work a couple days, and we were just like, I think we need to go home. I think we just need to close up. We were just trying to debate what to do. And so I said, y'all just need to go home. Of course, the next day we wake up and the governor has, you know, closed, you know, all retail establishments. And so I had to lay everybody off. And I refused to sit at home. I was like, I cannot sit at home. I cannot do this. I came every day to work during regular business hours and worked in here, cleaned up. I had art box to put out in April, and I had to like just print stuff off my printer to go in the boxes. Usually I had these nice custom cards that were color and had photo. I mean, it was just, they were beautiful things, bios for the artists and all. And I couldn't do that. So I made do. I already had, luckily I had all my supplies, and the artist had done all her stuff. So I was able to box all those up. So I just started working, and one of the new artists that we had, probably for a couple of years, Adam Trest from Laurel, and we had become involved with Hometown. And so he and I had established a really good working rapport and friendship, and luckily we were doing new episodes of Hometown during that time. So we started getting really busy because people wanted to buy art. So I'm in here, you know, shipping out stuff for 6 weeks, and Adam and I just started this rapport about like, what can we do to keep us going? And he's like, well, let's do these live interviews. It's like, oh my gosh. He said, you can do it. You can do it. Like, I don't think I could do these live interviews on Instagram. Of course, he was the first one. Everybody else after that, I saved it. We have it on our YouTube channel and all this kind of stuff. His got deleted. So we're going to do a new one this summer. And we're going to do a new one. But anyway, I got to know his wife, and at the time they only had 2 children. And so we just built this great rapport. I would go to Laurel, and we would meet for lunch or whatever when I would deliver art and swap out. And it's just really hard trying to get the art down there for the the reveals and coming back and making sure they had fresh inventory and blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, I was meeting with Adam and Lily about some other things about his art career and, what we should do. And because he was just selling out and we were just trying to figure out best plans for his future and big pieces and just collections in general. And we were chatting and Adam had been kind of making these little comments. We need a Caron Gallery South. We need a Caron Gallery South. And I was like, I cannot own 2 businesses. I can barely do this one. And so he would just make it every time we talked. We need one down here. I said, I cannot do it. Stop it. And so I went down one day to meet with them. I set aside a whole day of just them and trying to kind of figure out different things. And finally, Lily looked at me and she was like, we really need a gallery down here. I was like, well, Lily, I've told Adam, this is just too much. She's like, I'll be your partner. I said, well, that just totally changes everything. And, she's a woman, and I felt very comfortable, and I got to know them. I mean, they were already sweet friends, and they've become such, we opened last February, and it has been, it's been so hard. It's been hard opening your own business and then trying to have 2 locations and one's at a different location. And we're partners. I mean, I'm sole owner here, partners down there. But I was like, I knew I couldn't do it with someone unless they had skin in the game. And they were willing to do that. And she manages it and she handles the staff. And she's so good with the artists. And she understands because she lives with an artist. And she's all into analytics and all this stuff. And I was like, I do the books, and I love working with the artist, and I like the marketing component of it. But she's so smart, and she's just been wonderful. We have a really good balance, and she's really back, and I'm so retentive, and so it's just, it's good. It's good to have that blend, but they're blowing and going. It's been great.
That's so interesting, Kim, that you kind of fell into a partnership, right? Mm-hmm. Because they were so adamant and you strengthened your relationship with them.
Right.
What advice would you give to someone who may be in a similar situation, but because they've heard so many negative things about partnerships, what advice would you give?
It is hard. When I first opened, and if it was not for this, I did have a partner when I first started. I was already had everything planned. I was volunteering at the museum, and a sweet friend has said, I'll be glad to help you. And I was like, oh. And, I talked about it a little bit more, and Richard's like, well, I've always had a partner in my office. He said, yeah, it's hard, but you can share the load and share the duties and, get a different perspective. And I was like, okay. Now, so I did bring on a partner, but I was always a majority partner because it was my idea. It was my thing. She lasted about 1.5 years or so. Just life. Her kids were a lot smaller. It was just too hard. And anyway, it didn't work out. And you have to have honest conversations. And it was hard. She was like, it just makes me sad. I said, but this is for the best. She's like, I know. And so you have to have the honest conversations. I hate confrontation. I hate it. Some people thrive on it. I don't know how they do it. Mm-hmm. But I just don't like it. But I've had to really push and make myself do it. So it's hard to have a partner. You have to realize that everyone brings different, like just on the committees and volunteerism, everyone brings something different to the table, and you got to pull the good stuff out, and you got to set aside it's about the business. It's not about your $10 refund that you should have gotten for paying for something for the business. It's like, okay, so it's $10.
That's right. That's right. So. Okay, I would be remiss if I did not ask about this. So tell us a little bit about how you got to be on the HGTV show.
Oh, and Adam Trust.
Okay, so I know you've already mentioned it a little bit, but what was the initial spark plug that kind of started all of that?
Well, Adam, he and Aaron Napier are good friends. They both were raised in Laurel. I think his mother was Aaron's teacher and was very influential in her life. And because they didn't really go to the same schools. I don't understand how Laurel school system is, just different. You know, Tupelo, everyone kind of goes to the same schools. So, I mean, different elementary, but anyway, there's one high school. And I think that's where we're very blessed about that. I know it's very hard to do that as a community, but anyway, so they had just always had a really good working relationship when they got out of college, and they all had this commitment to go back to Laurel. That age group, and you see the people on TV, Aaron and Ben, Jim and Mallory Raspberry, and Josh and Emily. I always forget Josh's last name, but anyway, hopefully I didn't take it personally. But anyway, they're all pretty much the same age, maybe a little bit older than Adam and Lily, but there's not much of a difference. They all made a commitment to go back to Laurel, going back to your hometown. And I think we're seeing that more now too. But they just wanted their children to be raised in the way how they were. Yes, I think times have changed, you know, obviously. But anyway, Adam had been, you know, his art was featured, you know, a couple times on the show, and he got to be friends with the production team and all that kind of stuff. And so he just made a comment. He's like, you know, it'd be so cool for, you know, more. I know there's always looking for things to put in the reveals. And I was like, well, we would love to do it. He said, well, let me see if I can mention your name to the production supervisor, because he, you know, respected his relationship with Aaron, that he wasn't going to go, hey, Aaron, you know, let's do this. He went and talked to people on the production, like, what's your helicopter view of that? What do you think? Looked at the website, and they're like, oh yeah, can she bring some stuff?
Here goes the website again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They were able to look at the website, and they would go on the website, and they would start picking things, say, can you bring this stuff? And so I'd make a trek down to Laurel in the morning. They would get everything. I'd come back, and then 2 weeks later, I'd go back down and pick it all up. Or if someone had wanted to buy, you know, a piece or two, we would let them, you know, obviously, if they wanted to buy it for the home, they would buy it. And it just kind of grew from that. And so by the time that the spring of 2020 happened, we had really gotten in a really good groove with Hometown Productions, or whatever the production company is called, that we were on almost every reveal, big pieces. John Armstead was featured a lot. And so that just really allowed us in that springtime, when everyone's at home watching TV, there's our art, and they're on our website, and it just was blowing up. So when my staff came back, I looked at one of them. I was like, I cannot make another box. I cannot ship another piece for a while. I said, I used up, because we would have framing boxes, because we do custom framing too, and the boxes would come in, and we would use those to ship things out. So we had a good stash back there. Literally, when we reopened, I had used the very last box. I was using Amazon boxes from our house, because everybody's ordering Amazon. So I'd bring Amazon boxes here and use them and send them back out. And Amazon really helped me out, to be honest. So shout out to Amazon. Thank you.
I can't help but to think about how someone else said your name in a room and helped you. Talk to us about the importance of that, of helping either your circles or your professional circles, and what it means to not see each other as competition, and maybe seeing each other as a resource, or what has that been like on your journey to have these serendipitous relationships come about, but not like intentionally, because sometimes it happens just naturally, right? And sometimes there's no expectations. I don't think you ever would have dreamed this ever would have happened, right?
No.
But then someone with your relationship building, and then someone having the courage to also speak up and say, hey, you know, I'm going to do this on your behalf, and respecting their boundaries. Just talk to us more about that.
Yeah, you know, when I started the gallery, it stopped volunteering at church, and I was done with PTO, and I'd already finished junior auxiliary after, you know, several years. And so so when I opened the gallery, I joined Downtown Main Street Association and got involved with that. And because I thought it was important. And, you know, everyone has commentary about, you know, their Main Street associations, or their community development association, or their economic development, whatever, their chamber of commerce. Everyone has different issues. But at the end of the day, that is your chamber, and that is your downtown Main Street. Either you help make it better or you sit at home and complain. I'm like, I'm going to join. And I didn't have complaints, but I wanted to be involved because I'm like, I'm a downtown, business, and I want that to thrive, and I want to help. So I got involved in that. So that was my way of volunteering in a different way on that. So I was on the board for quite a few years. My kids went to college, and we would tailgate over at Ole Miss, and which is hard as a state grad. And then we ended up getting a condo over there because, we decided, well, we're going to get season tickets, and we're going to do basketball, and we're going to do baseball. And so we would go there, and we would tailgate, and we would have, a couple of friends who were tailgating from Tupelo, because it was like a Tupelo tent. And we would invite some of them to kind of stay with us over there so they didn't have to drive home after the game or come the day before if the game was early or whatever, just, building friendships and whatever. And so we gotten to be good friends through football, basically, with David and Donna Rumbarger. And David is chairman or president of our Community Development Foundation. So anyway, David and I got to be friends, and Donna were in the same Bible study together. And so anyway, David's like, you should maybe just be like on a committee at CDF. I was like, sure. So I'm like, okay, I can handle this. I can be in downtown Main Street, and I can do this little committee over here. Well, it just started growing, and I was getting pulled more from downtown Main Street, which I hated, but I had put in quite a few years there. But that was very good for me to learn from an economic committee or organization more than just like church and helping people in the community. It's a different volunteer kind of thing. And so that downtown really taught me a lot about, looking at from political and economic standpoint. And it just prepared me for CDF. And so anyway, Dave was like, okay, come be on the committee. I said, okay. So I did that, and then they asked me to be on the big board. And then I was there when they changed the board structure and made the board structure a little bit smaller, and it had more, the committees became more workable, and then the board became a little smaller but more workable. And so I got on that new small board, about 12 people. I can't remember the number, sorry. But so anyway, that kind of, I've been on the board now for, I can't say how long, but I just finished being chairman of the board, which I'm only the third woman in CDF, 75 years. And so, and most of those women have been in the last, 15 years, I think. I don't know exactly what the right numbers. But, it's like, okay, I don't want to be the worst chairman. I don't have to be the best. It's okay. And I want to do honor to the other two women that have been there. And so it's just getting to know people, and all of a sudden you're like being asked to do a little committee that grows into being chairman of the board. Mm-hmm. And so, and it was a hard year because I opened up the gallery, lost both my parents, my son got married, I've had some health issues, but they're all good now. And it's just, you just, sometimes you think, okay, life is really good, I don't have any issues. Sometimes they all come in one year. And you just have to kind of just keep going. And it was hard, and there have been tough times. And so I don't want people to think, oh, she's had this gallery and she's just thrived and she has no problems. It's been hard. I remember when I first opened and I joined CDF and I joined Downtown Main Street, and to pay those, and it's a minimal fee. Downtown is $150, and CDF, I still pay my basic $350. And when I first started doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, can I pay those? And that's only $500. Yeah, $500. And it's like, can I do that? Can I afford to do that? And I was like, I can't not afford to do it. I can't afford not to do it. Yeah.
I love that.
So,
what advice would you give to women who maybe aspire to be in similar positions that you have been a part of, whether it's being a business owner or being on these more, on more committees, mm-hmm. Maybe that are not necessarily, how do I say politically correct, that women are typically not a part of. Like, what advice would you give to women who want to do that, or maybe some encouragement of how to get more involved? You've already mentioned the relationship building, but you have to have some experience in that, right? And you have to be open to it. And sometimes you kind of end up there without, like you didn't even mean to. But
but the thing is that David recognized that I had been involved with Downtown Main Street, and I had my own business. And sometimes these organizations don't know about you. And it's nothing to offend anyone. They just don't know. So you gotta get yourself out there.
I like that. That is so true.
But it's true, though.
We think that they see us because we're busy, but we're in our bubble,
we're
right?
In a bubble. Yeah.
What about the other bubble where you give back and you get outside of yourself? That's one of the things that I talk about all the time, because you never know how you're going to interconnect or meet somebody at a function, at an event, somewhere you did not want to be. But sometimes that one connection will be a game changer for everything else, right? But we have to do what? Take the first step out of our comfort zone and do something that not just helps us, but someone else too.
Yeah, and they want more women. It's hard to find women that they know that can make it to a meeting. You know, you got to make it to your meeting. Yeah. If you're a no-show, you're never going to be asked to come back. Yeah. You got to, and sometimes more is going to be expected of you. But they are in desperate need of knowing more women. You know, I know at least on CDF, I mean, we talk about it all the time. We want to make sure we keep looking for more women to be involved. And I was kind of a rare thing. I mean, before me was Lisa Hawkins, and then before her was Mary Werner.
Mary Werner.
Yeah, we were all business owners. We didn't come from the corporate world. And so they want to have small business owners on it. They want to have a balance. It's not just about the big manufacturing companies. And so whether it's someone's listening from, and they're involved in Tupelo, or if they're listening to this podcast anywhere, you have to get yourself out there. And I'm not the best at networking. I'm just not. I just, like when I'm done at work, I just want to go home. So, but I made myself network in a different way. And that's what you have to do. So if you're not a social person, you got to find something else that you can network. You got to search it out and you have to think outside the box about how to make that happen. But you can do it. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
What advice would you give to women who are looking to start their own business, or maybe pivot and move in a completely different direction from what they're doing now? So whether they're going through a transitional period, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. I would, first, you just got to go, okay, is this really what I do? For me, I started in prayer. That's just where I started. I talked to my husband, and, I think with his personality and with men, they're like, what? They don't like change. Like, what are you talking about? What? No, what? We're good. No. And so you have to start talking, and you got to have the conversations. They're going to be hard. And then you need to talk to people that you see that are successful, and go and ask them questions. And you need to talk to men and women, not just women. I mean, it's great to talk to other women, but a man is going to give you a totally different view on things. And they'll be honest with you. If you ask them, they will be honest. I promise you. I've had some great male mentors. I mean, they have been great. I mean, the one thing my dad always told me from as young as I can remember, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that. Now, some things we never even thought we could even think about doing. Like, I'm playing golf now, and I didn't start playing until like 5 years ago. And I'm like, I wish I had learned that in high school. My dad was a huge guy. I used to watch golf on TV with him. He would play golf all the time. And my mother and I talked about that a few months ago. I'm like, it's so funny. I said, I love golf now. I said, I can't believe Dad never took me to play golf. She's like, you just didn't even know to ask. I said, no. I said, he didn't even think about asking you, because it wasn't like a female sport. We played softball because there was a girls' softball team at church. And he encouraged that, and he was always supportive of that, but didn't even think about it. And so men, your fathers are great advice. Your husband, there's men that are going to give you a different perspective, but you have to balance it with women's perspective. And I have to also think that there are going to be women who are going to be a little naysayer. Yes. And it's just how it is.
That's right. There will always be naysayers.
Yeah, men and women.
Correct. I think there's always. I think you have to filter and know, what to listen to, what not to listen to.
Yeah.
I think there's always room for constructive criticism and being aware of the challenges that you're going to encounter. But there's also that fine line of not allowing someone else's belief in you determine where you're going to land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So many successful people that I know, if they would have listened to those naysayers, they would have never been where they are.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's going to sound crazy to those that are not as passionate or inspired as you are about whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's owning your own business or, having this title, in corporate career world, whatever that looks like, or being a stay-at-home mom, if that is important to you, there's always going to be someone who's not going to align with you. And you've got to really know how to sift through that, but not be afraid to ask, right? I'm so glad you mentioned that, because we get stuck in our bubble, in our own world, and we don't consider all the viewpoints of what it's going to take to make us successful. Because what I've heard a lot of people say is, you don't know everything in the beginning, and if you try to prepare for everything, you're still going to be hit from the side.
It's like that hydrant. It's that hydrant coming towards you, and you're like, you're trying to get a drink of water. Yeah, trying to take it all in.
It seems magical in the beginning because you're so excited and you want to, but to persevere through some of those hardships and things you didn't realize, like COVID. Like, how many of us knew COVID was going to
I thought we would never open our doors.
Yeah.
And now 3 years later, we have a new location, brand new website, and we're Lily and I are a little competitive, and like, who's got the best sales this month?
Yeah.
And I don't have to share my sales numbers with her, but everything's through Shopify, so she really does know everything.
Yes.
But it's funny. I'm just like, dang it, you just y'all are catching up to me. It's not right.
But I think
but
that's
it's
fun too, right?
It's good. I mean,
it's bettering yourself too, right?
Yeah, because it pushes
it's a win-win.
You. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. Oh, the other thing that I want to make sure I didn't miss saying, and you were talking about, what you were saying was so good, I didn't want to interrupt you, is that you do have to be careful who you talk to, because there's some people you just never can trust, and they'll steal your idea, and they'll
make it their own, right?
Yeah. And so you have to be really careful. And that's why sometimes it might be a little easier to talk to a guy.
Yeah.
It's just.
No.
But you got to know your people. You got to know the people you're talking to.
Yeah.
Now, a man might take your idea too, or
Yeah.
might share it with his wife, and then whatever. So I don't want to, I don't want to be slanted on that. But you have to really know them. Like, do you know them? Or if you're asking someone advice, do you know them? Making sure that's the right person who's so busy with theirs, they're not going to worry about yours.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I love that. Last but not least, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't be fearful, and don't have regrets. If you're scared of doing something, just push through it and don't have that regret.
Well, Kim, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on today's episode. I think you have been so insightful and so much fun, and so I really appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.